Hey church, Pastor Benji here. What comes to mind for you when I say this word, conflict? For some of you, your heart rate just went up a little bit. For some of you, you're going, yay, that sounds like a great problem I can solve. I love to resolve conflict. Conflict has always been a part of who we are as human beings. Conflict has been a part of the beginning of time, even outside of humanity. We learn from Scripture that even God and his angels had conflict in the great controversy. So conflict is something that is just part of life, isn't it? But as Christians, what do we do with conflict? What is healthy conflict? There's been lots of books. Even a couple years ago, we brought in a speaker to talk about conflict in the workplace. How do we have crucial conversations in our workplace, in our homes, with our loved ones? This year in America, in 2020 and even into 2021, we've been talking a lot about conflict. We've seen a lot of conflict happening on our news web feeds. We've seen a lot of conflict over the years on our Facebook feeds. So what do we do as Christians with that conflict? What does the Bible have to say? This week in your discipleship classes, you're going to be talking about conflict. You know, one of the things that's really interesting, you're going to be looking at these stories from Ephesians Chapter 4. Ephesians Chapter 4 is an awesome book of the Bible, and like many of Paul's letters, Paul is dealing with something called conflict. And these new churches that he's planted, people have had different ideas exactly what church should look like. And in Ephesians chapter 4, it's one of three different places in the Bible that you might recognize that lists spiritual gifts. But I love the beginning of Ephesians chapter 4. If you look to the beginning, the first five verses of this chapter, you're going to see a word repeated over and over again. It's the word one. One body, one Lord, one church, over and over. And I love this idea of, hey guys, we've got to be unified. We've got to come together. In fact, if anybody should be unified, it should be believers in Jesus. Like, there's no reason why churches should be fighting amongst each other. Paul's saying that, and it's actually a message for us today. And here's what I love about this. Paul takes this idea of one, and then he goes on to say, we have many gifts. So in this oneness, in this unity, there's going to be diversity. Everybody's going to have different talents. Everybody's going to have different things that they bring to this body, and different is okay. In fact, he also, in the book of Romans, says it's this idea of this body that kind of comes together and works well together. I love that idea that even as we're searching for unity, there's going to be uniqueness within that unity. How do we work with that today? I also want to look at John chapter 13, verse 35. It's one of my favorite verses. In fact, one of the first songs I ever learned how to play on guitar, because it was only 2 chords long. It says, and they'll know we are Christians by our love, by our love. Some of you from the 70s might recognize that song. It was a popular song then. But it's a verse taken directly from John chapter 13, verse 35. It says, people are going to know that you're followers of mine by your love. Do people know that you're a follower of Jesus because of how loving you are? Is that the defining characteristic on your social media feed? Is that the defining characteristic in your house, in your work, that people know that you're a follower of Jesus because you love? Because that is the unifying thing of all these gifts, is love. So I encourage you, in your small groups this week, have some conflict. Come together, figure out how do we work through these things, because Christians need to learn how, more than anybody else, how to push through and push beyond to come together as one, unified in Jesus. Good luck with your small groups this week.